So your humble coffee bean is a bit of a diva. It's a bit of a Goldilocks in terms of where it can be grown. So just looking at a world map, we have what we would refer to as the coffee belt, which is a very specific region either side of the equator, which is best suited to coffee. So it requires a certain amount of light, a certain amount of consistency of warmth, and a certain amount of rainfall. And these regions really are the only areas that give those qualities that the coffee plant itself actually really likes and really appreciates. So we've got the Tropic of Cancer to the top of the equator, and just beneath the equator, we've got the Tropic of Capricorn. So although coffee can be grown entirely along this region, it depends very much on the soil and also, I suppose, to some degree, the economic stability of the country itself. Now, Brazil has established itself as one of the most prolific coffee exporters in the world. Most blends of coffee will have some aspect of Brazilian grown coffee in there. But we've also got Peru and Colombia, Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, Sumatra, Java, and Papua New Guinea. Moving above the equator to the Tropic of Cancer, the countries that typically dominate the export of coffee are Mexico, Guatemala, and Costa Rica. Now, the challenge that is there at the moment is with climate change, it's moving the growable regions and it's narrowing them. So the equator effectively is becoming wider, which is too hot to grow coffee. And the regions where you can actually grow coffee is becoming more challenging. In Brazil, a lot of the farmers are having to use higher peaks in order to get the consistency of rainfall and soil quality. And obviously at those higher peaks, it's harder to harvest, it's harder to maintain the bushes. There's a lot more logistics involved. So that's certainly going to have an impact on the price of the coffee that we pay over here. Ethiopia was quite an important region. Many credit the discovery of the Arabica coffee plant and the Arabica coffee variety from the Ethiopia region. And indeed, coffee has been grown there for thousands of years and they've had a lot of chance to perfect it. But the Arabica plants that originated in Ethiopia have certainly been transplanted to other regions, so they are growing Arabica all over the world now. So what are the differences in taste between these different regions? Well, Ethiopian coffee will usually have sweet fruit notes, usually citrus, floral aromas, and they would be full-bodied, full-flavoured, bold, but very balanced coffees. It's really a connoisseur's region of coffee. Many people say that Ethiopian coffee is the most pure that you can get. It's certainly the smoothest, the less acidic. So a lot of people actually prefer Ethiopian coffee. Guatemala has interesting growing conditions. So a lot of the soil there, it's volcanic soil. So they've got miles and miles of rich, nutrient-laden soil to grow their coffee in, and lots of hilly landscapes. Now, the benefit of hills is it allows you to really create microclimates and control the way the water flows over the property yourself. Guatemalan coffee usually has notes of cocoa or chocolate and spices with a sweetly balanced flavour profile that tends to be on the full-bodied side. In Kenya, the coffee is grown at the foothills of Mount Kenya. The Kenyan coffee variety is known to connoisseurs as SL28. The coffee production in Kenya is very strictly monitored and controlled, so there is a great deal of consistency and a very high threshold of coffee from producers in that area. Kenyan coffee tends to have a bright, acidic taste, coupled with a very pleasant full body. Now, we would refer to all of these as single origin coffee beans. They've come from one place. A lot of the coffee that we buy in our supermarkets is a blended coffee. So they've taken coffee from different regions and they've exploited the various different coffee profiles, coffee flavors, and the base notes to create the perfect coffee. So a lot of the coffee we buy is actually a blend. It may be a blend from the same region, or it may be completely different regions in the world. And a lot of the cheaper coffees tend to have the cheaper, more caffeine-laden, Robusta variety of bean in it, whereas the more expensive coffees tend to be the more refined Arabica coffee, which tends to have a lower caffeine content. So a lot of supermarket producers blend Robusta and Arabica to create the amount of caffeine that they want, the coffee that gives you that morning kick that you need, with the flavor profiles and the delicacies that you get with a lot of these Arabica coffees. So I'm going to be doing videos that go more in depth into each of the regions. We've not mentioned Colombia, which have very, very strict controls over coffee production and the coffee quality, and certainly it's a fantastic region. But there's so many different regions, so many origins, so many different farms. We're going to go into each of these and we'll be going through the tasting notes for each of those. So if you know what you like in terms of coffee, then you'll be able to tap into that bean that suits your personal preference. And in the meantime, just learn to enjoy your coffee. Savor the flavors. Coffee is about the aroma, the taste, the aftertaste. To the purist, adding milk to this drink is sacrilegious. You're losing the original benefits of the coffee. Personally, I quite like my flat white, so I'm going to stick with the foamy milk that goes into it. So I guess I'm not really a purist. Let me know in the comments what your favorite coffee is, how you prefer to have coffee. And if you've got a region that you prefer, let me know in the comments what that region is, and we can focus future video content so that we're tailoring to your taste preferences and we can produce things that you're specifically interested in. So thank you very much for watching. Please boot that like button. That really does help us to get out there. And I've lined this video up for you that you should find interesting. And don't forget to subscribe to make sure that you don't have trouble brewing.